Takeda Shingen, Uesugi Kenshin, Date Masamune. The Sengoku period is filled with fascinating warlords known as Sengoku Daimyo. But behind every daimyo who rose to prominence, there lies a story of origin. Some inherited authority, others seized it, and a few emerged from the grassroots. How did they consolidate power, and how did they fight off the rivals to maintain control? This is the story of the three origins of the Sengoku Daimyo. Konnichiwa. Welcome to another journey into the history of Japan. In this video, we'll explore the three distinct paths that led to the rise of Sengoku Daimyo. During the Sengoku era, Japan was like dozens of mini kingdoms, each ruled by a Sengoku Daimyo with their own laws, armies, and ambitions. Before diving into their origins, let me explain the term Sengoku Daimyo. While the word daimyo carries various meanings depending on the historical context, when referring to Sengoku Daimyo, it means a feudal military lord who consolidated power over a specific domain through their own military strengths, rather than relying on the authority of the central government. That was the Ashikaga shogunate. And not all Sengoku Daimyo came from the same mold. In fact, their origins tell us a lot about the chaos and opportunity of the Sengoku period. Historians often group the origins into three categories. They were Shugo, Shugo-dai, and Kokujin. The Sengoku witnessed the rise and fall of daimyo from these three origins in the spirit of Gekokujo, literally the low overcoming the high, the defining ethos of Sengoku Japan. Let's take a look at them one by one. The first category was Shugo. They had the most legitimate and prestigious origins. Shugo was the provincial military governors appointed by the Ashikaga shogunate and were either the relatives of the Ashikaga shoguns or the families with strong connections with the shogun's family. The Shugo, usually translated as the military governor, was originally an office established under the Kamakura shogunate, the country's first military government. It started out as an office for overseeing military and policing affairs in their assigned provinces. However, under the Ashikaga shogunate, their authority expanded to include land management and tax collection. This effectively made them the autonomous rulers in the assigned provinces. They had the distinguished pedigree, inherited the land and the military might. They were the aristocrats of war, so to speak. By the late 15th century, when the Ashikaga shoguns became powerless after Onin War, many Shugo had abandoned their allegiance to the shoguns altogether. Their armies no longer served shogun, they served ambition. Some of the notable Shugo turned Sengoku Daimyo were Takeda Shingen, known as the Tiger of Kai, one of the most feared Sengoku Daimyo. Imagawa Yoshimoto of Suruga province, known as the #1 archer of Tokaido, and Ouchi Yoshitaka, who was once the most powerful daimyo in western Japan. But not all the Shugo evolved into Sengoku Daimyo. They had to fight off rivals and rebellious vassals to maintain control. Otherwise, they were replaced by their vassals. The second category was Shugo-dai, literally deputy Shugo. The Shugo-dai, or deputy governors, were appointed by the Shugo to manage provinces in their absence, so they were sort of middle managers of Sengoku. Yet, as central authority crumbled and the Shugo lords grew distant or weak after the Onin War, these deputies began to act on their own. Some Shugo-dai seized the moment. They rallied local warriors, fortified castles, and expelled or destroyed the Shugo to become Sengoku Daimyo. Gekokujo carried out. The rise of the Shugo-dai tells a story of ambition from below. They were not born to rule, but they learned how to. In the vacuum of power, they established their own rule. Some of the notable examples of Sengoku Daimyo of Shugo-dai origins were Saito Dosan, nicknamed the Viper of Mino; Oda Nobunaga, who was born into a branch family of Oda clan, the Shugo-dai of Owari province. Of course, he is known as the first unifier of Sengoku Japan. And Uesugi Kenshin, known as the Dragon of Echigo. The third category was Kokujin, literally countrymen. The Kokujin were local landowners or minor samurai who controlled small territories. Unlike the Shugo and Shugo-dai, who were officials under the shogunate, the Kokujin were grassroots warriors who best represented the Gekokujo ethos. In times of peace, Kokujin were modest figures, managing estates, leading village militias, and serving higher lords. But as the Sengoku period unraveled Japan's hierarchy, many Kokujin seized the chance to rise. They fortified their lands, formed alliances, and some even overthrew their superiors to become Sengoku Daimyo. Their rise shows how fragmented and fluid Sengoku society had become. Some of the notable Sengoku Daimyo of Kokujin origins were Chosokabe Motochika, who once captured entire Shikoku Island; Tokugawa Ieyasu of Mikawa province. Of course, he went on to found the Tokugawa shogunate; and Date Tanemune of Mutsu province, who laid the foundation of the prosperity of the Date clan in the Tohoku region. His great-grandson, Date Masamune, once unified the southern Tohoku region. Among the most dramatic case of the rise and fall of Sengoku Daimyo was the double Gekokujo in Chugoku region, involving all three types of Sengoku Daimyo. They were Ouchi Yoshitaka, the Shugo; Sue Harukata, Shugo-dai; and Mori Motonari, a Kokujin. Ouchi Yoshitaka was a Shugo based in Suo province, modern-day southern Yamaguchi prefecture. Yoshitaka inherited a vast domain and was a formidable military leader, engaging wars with the rival clans in the Chugoku and the northern Kyushu regions. However, a turning point for Yoshitaka's life and for the destiny of Ouchi clan came when he launched a campaign against Amago Haruhisa, who ruled Izumo province. Yoshitaka laid a siege to the Gassan to the castle, the stronghold of the Amago clan. Yoshitaka mobilized about 45,000 troops, 3 times the number of Haruhisa's. Initially, Yoshitaka's superiority seemed unshakable. However, the Gassan to the castle was a natural fortress, protected by its steep and rugged surroundings. Haruhisa's army repelled Yoshitaka's repeated attacks. As the siege dragged on, morale and provisions collapsed in Yoshitaka's army. His vassals even began to defect. Yoshitaka decided to retreat. But his troops suffered a devastating defeat during the retreat fight. Furthermore, an unexpected tragedy befell Yoshitaka. Harumochi, his adopted son and successor, drowned in a river while retreating. Following Harumochi's death, Yoshitaka lost his ambition to expand his territory. Instead, he retreated in Yamaguchi and turned his attention to art and culture. And his excessive devotion to culture led to neglection for the military affairs. This frustrated one of his senior retainers, Sue Harukata. Harukata was the Shugo-dai of Suo province. The division within Ouchi clan intensified as Yoshitaka favored vassals who promoted cultural policies while neglecting those who prioritized military affairs, like Harukata. Harukata decided to eliminate his lord. In 1551, Harukata staged a coup against Yoshitaka, forcing him to commit seppuku. Harukata seized control of the Ouchi clan. The Gekokujo was carried out by a Shugo-dai. But his legitimacy was shaky. Ouchi retainers were divided, and the neighboring lords began to stir. Mori Motonari, a Kokujin of Aki province, saw Harukata's coup both as a betrayal and opportunity. Motonari was born into a family of one of many Kokujin in Aki province. His childhood was marked by poverty, as he was even nicknamed Kojiki Wakadono, literally beggar prince. Over time, however, he distinguished himself from other Kokujin with his innate intelligence and rose through the ranks of Ouchi clan. In 1555, Motonari launched a brilliant naval assault on Harukata's forces at Itsukushima Island during a blinding rainstorm. Motonari's forces attacked the Harukata's army from the sea and from the land, completely crushing them. Harukata committed seppuku. Another Gekokujo was carried out, this time by a Kokujin. Motonari went on to defeat the Amago clan, unifying the whole of Chugoku region. Mori Motonari, a minor Kokujin, rose to dominate the Chugoku region, marking one of the greatest success stories of the Sengoku Japan. So whether born into privilege, promoted from within, or rising from the soil itself, Sengoku Daimyo came from everywhere. That's what made the era so unpredictable and so fascinating. Thank you for watching. If you liked the exploration of the origins of the Sengoku Daimyo and their path to power, please like, subscribe, and share. ありがとうございました。さよなら。